welcome back. We have been discussing about our paper entitled Epistemology, which has been introduced for our DSc 6th semester under the NEP syllabus, and it is under DSc 18 of University of Delhi for Philosophy Honours students. I am Dr. Ananya Barua, Associate Professor from the Department of Philosophy. So we have been dealing in with the various sources of knowledge, and we did have a look on the sources of knowledge such as idealism, also introspective knowledge, a priori knowledge or a posteriori or empirical knowledge, and so on and so forth in our previous classes. We will continue now with some of the gaps in all these sources of knowledge, and we will also try to have a comparative analysis between some of them, such as introspective and idealism, what are the key differences, or a priori and empirical knowledge, what are the differences or similarities, and so on and so forth. Gaps in introspective knowledge. Introspective knowledge refers to the process of examining one's own thoughts, feelings, and mental states, while introspection can offer valuable insights into subjective experience. It also has several limitations and gaps. Here's a breakdown of the primary gaps in introspective knowledge. 1. Limited access to subconscious and unconscious process. Now, the problem in introspection is that it primarily deals with conscious thoughts and feelings, but much of our mental life occurs below the level of conscious awareness. These include subconscious processes such as repressed memories, implicit biases, and unconscious desires that shape behavior without being directly accessible through introspection. So the gap in introspection is limited to conscious experiences and cannot directly access subconscious or unconscious mental states that might influence thoughts and behaviors. Now, what is the possible way out? The possible way out is perhaps in combining introspective practices with psychoanalytic methods, that is, the Freudian techniques or neuroscientific research could offer a more comprehensive view of the mind, allowing us to explore hidden mental processes. The second gap is the self-deception and cognitive bias. Now, what is this problem? Introspection is prone to self-deception and cognitive biases. People may not be entirely honest with themselves or may have a distorted understanding of their own thoughts and emotions. For instance, confirmation bias can cause individuals to focus on thoughts that confirm pre-existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory information. Now, what is the gap? Self-deception can lead to inaccurate or biased introspective knowledge, causing individuals to misinterpret or overlook aspects of their internal experiences. Now, what is the possible way out? The solution is perhaps practices such as mindfulness and self-reflection in therapeutic contexts. Example, cognitive behavioral therapy can help reduce self-deception. Additionally, feedback from external sources or peer perspectives can provide more balanced insights. Third, lack of precision and language limitations. The problem is language is the primary tool for expressing introspective insights, but language often fails to capture the full complexity of subjective experience. Thoughts and emotions are often multifaceted and difficult to articulate, leading to oversimplifications or misunderstandings of one's internal world. Now, the gap. Language limitations hinder the accuracy and depth of introspective knowledge, especially when it comes to abstract, complex, or deeply emotional experiences. So what is the solution or the possible way out? Encouraging expression through non-verbal forms of introspection such as art, music, or journaling may allow individuals to capture experiences that language alone cannot fully express. Additionally, mindfulness and meditative practices may help individuals become more attuned to their internal states without necessarily needing to articulate them. Now, the fourth gap in under introspection is the influence of external and contextual factors. So, what is this problem all about? Now, social and cultural contexts influence how individuals introspect. Our thoughts and feelings are often shaped by external factors such as societal norms, family expectations, or cultural values. This can lead to distorted introspection because individuals may prioritize certain beliefs or emotions that align with their context rather than their authentic experience. So, the gap is that in introspection can be influenced by social pressures, leading to a limited or biased understanding of one's true self. What is the solution? Integrating cultural awareness and social context into introspective practices could help individuals recognize how their external environment affects their internal experiences. Cross-cultural studies could also help identify shared and individualistic patterns in introspective experiences. The fifth is over-reliance on the self-report method. So what is the problem? Introspective knowledge is often reliant on self-report, which is subjective and susceptible to biases in memory and perception. For example, people may misremember past emotions or overestimate their emotional responses due to current feelings or beliefs. So the gap is that memory biases and subjective interpretations can compromise the reliability of introspective knowledge. People might inaccurately report their mental states, leading to flawed insights. What is the solution? Using objective measures, example neuroimaging, physiological indicators, alongside introspective reports could validate self-reflection. Additionally, longitudinal studies that track mental states over time may reveal discrepancies in how individuals report their experiences versus how they actually experience them. The sixth problem in introspection is difficulty in verifying accuracy. Introspection is inherently subjective, and it can be difficult to verify the accuracy of introspective insights. Unlike empirical methods which rely on observable phenomena, introspective knowledge cannot be independently confirmed by external observers. This raises questions about the validity and universality of introspective claims. So, where is the gap? We see that verification issues arise because introspective knowledge cannot be easily cross-checked with external data or shared experiences. What is the solution? That is engaging in peer discussions, dialogue, and therapeutic exchanges can offer different perspectives on introspective insights, providing a form of external validation. Also, pairing introspective reflection with empirical observation may help to cross-check subjective experiences with objective data. Now we come to the seventh gap in introspection, which is emotional and cognitive disturbances. The problem is that in introspection may be affected by emotional states like anxiety, depression, or cognitive distortions, example, catastrophizing or overgeneralization. These states can skew the way individuals perceive and understand their own mental processes. For example, someone experiencing anxiety might overestimate the negative aspects of a situation during introspection. So the gap that we see under introspection in disturbed emotional states can cloud introspective clarity, leading to a skewed perception of reality. Therapeutic techniques such as cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness practices can help individuals recognize and manage emotional biases. We then come to the temporal distortions in introspection problem. Now, time perception can distort introspective knowledge. People may reflect on past experiences with the influence of their current mental state, which can lead to retrospective bias. Alternatively, introspective insights may be filtered through an idealized or exaggerated lens, not accurately representing the original experience. So we see that the gap in temporal distortions in introspection can cause individuals to misremember or misinterpret past events, leading to inaccurate self-knowledge. The possible way out could be objective records such as journals, videos, or audio recordings can provide a more accurate reflection of past experiences, helping to counteract retrospective biasness. Furthermore, something which I have been repeating, mindful reflection on past experiences in the present moment can reduce distortions caused by current emotions or perceptions. We further have the problem or the gap in introspection, which is the subjectivity of the introspective process. The problem is that introspection inherently involves the subjective experience of the individual performing the introspection. The process is shaped by personal beliefs, desires, and experiences, which makes introspective knowledge difficult to generalize across individuals or cultures. What one person experiences during introspection may differ greatly from another's experience, even in similar circumstances. So the gap, that is subjectivity, creates variability in introspective knowledge, making it difficult to establish universal patterns or truths. Now, what is the solution? Comparing introspective insights across different individuals, cultures, and contexts can help identify commonalities in subjective experiences. Cross-cultural studies and phenomenological research could also provide a broader understanding of introspective processes. The 10th problem is solipsism and the risk of over-introspection. The problem is that excessive introspection can lead to solipsism, where individuals become overtly absorbed in their own internal experience, potentially losing touch with the external world and other people's perspectives. Over-introspection might also lead to self-absorption, where an individual excessively ruminates on their own thoughts and emotions, hindering their ability to engage meaningfully with others. So the gap we see is over-reliance on introspection can alienate individuals from external realities and lead to self-obsession or distorted self-concepts. The possible way out could be balancing introspective practices with engagement in external experiences. Example, social interactions, physical activities can help maintain a more grounded perspective and reduce the risks of solipsism or excessive self-focus. So, while introspective knowledge offers valuable insights into personal experiences, it faces significant gaps related to biasness, subjectivity, memory, cognitive distortions, and limited access to subconscious processes. To address these gaps, introspection can be enhanced through mindfulness, external validation, cognitive therapies, and multidisciplinary approaches that integrate introspection with empirical and psychological methods. By recognizing and addressing these limitations, introspective knowledge can become a more reliable and profound tool for understanding the self. So now that we have discussed the gaps of introspective knowledge and have also given the possible way outs, we are good to go to see the interconnectedness of the various sources of knowledge. To begin with, let's talk about the connection between a priori knowledge and empirical knowledge. A priori knowledge and empirical knowledge are two distinct sources of understanding, yet they are deeply interconnected in many philosophical frameworks. Their relationship is central to debates about the origins, structure, and justification of human knowledge. Definition-wise, we know that a priori knowledge is independent of sensory experience. derived from reason or innate structures of the mind. For example, 2 plus 2 is 4, logical truths such as if A is true, then A implies B, then B is true, and conceptual truths such as all bachelors are unmarried. Empiricism, on the other hand, or empirical knowledge, is the sole or primary source of knowledge. A priori knowledge is either denied or reduced to analytic truths that arise from linguistic or conceptual conventions. For example, Hume argued that even mathematics and logic ultimately depend on empirical experiences such as the repeated observation of patterns. Second, traditional philosophical views, rationalism. We know that a priori knowledge is superior and foundational to understanding the world. Empirical knowledge is secondary and must be organized by innate principles or logical structures. Example, Descartes' rationalism emphasizes innate ideas as a priori truths that guide empirical understanding. Empirical knowledge, on the other hand, we have just mentioned how it is antithesis to a priori knowledge. Now, in between these comes Kant's synthesis. So, Immanuel Kant bridged the gap between a priori and empirical, and he proposed that a priori knowledge provides the necessary frameworks such as space, time, causality for organizing sensory data. Empirical knowledge fills these frameworks with content derived from experience. Examples such as space and time are not derived from experience but are a priori forms of intuition that make experience possible. Further, while we understand that while distinct, a priori and empirical knowledge often complement each other, which is in the form of framework for experiences. A priori knowledge provides the cognitive structure that allows us to interpret sensory data meaningfully. For example, the concept of causally or a priori allows us to understand empirical observations like the ball rolled because it was pushed. Justification of empirical claims is that logical reasoning a priori is necessary for deriving conclusions from empirical observations. So in a way, they say that a priori is embedded in logical empirical claims, and as such, their interconnectedness. We also see in testing and refinement. Empirical observations can challenge and refine what is considered a priori knowledge. Example, Euclidean geometry, traditionally considered a priori, was revised after empirical observations led to the development of non-Euclidean geometries. Applications to the real world. A priori knowledge becomes meaningful when applied to empirical phenomena. Example, mathematical principles, a priori, are used in physics to describe and predict real-world events. Then we also have analytic-synthetic distinction. Analytic knowledge, true by definition, which is all bachelors are unmarried, often considered a priori. Synthetic knowledge adds substantive information about the world. The cat is on the mat. Typically empirical, but can also be a priori in Kant's framework. So synthetic a priori knowledge, a unique category introduced by Immanuel Kant, where knowledge is both substantive and independent of experience. For example, every event has a cause is not derived from sensory experience but is necessary for organizing it. Now, science and mathematics, scientific theories rely on a priori reasoning to interpret empirical data and predict outcomes. For example, Newton's laws of motion use a priori mathematical principles to describe empirical observations of physical phenomena. Philosophical inquiry. Concepts like justice or morality may have a priori foundations but are informed by cultural and empirical contexts. Example, stealing is wrong can be rooted in a priori reasoning, universal ethics, but shaped by societal norms, empirical experience. Then we have something called cognitive science, which explores how the brain's innate structures a priori interact with sensory data empirical to construct knowledge. We also have something which is called as Queen's critique. Queen challenged the distinction between a priori and empirical knowledge, suggesting that all knowledge is interconnected and subject to revision based on experience. This follows pragmatism, which views knowledge as a tool for navigating the world, blurring the lines between a priori and empirical categories. So the connection between a priori and empirical knowledge is both complementary and dynamic. A priori knowledge provides the foundational principles and logical structures necessary for organizing and interpreting empirical data, while empirical knowledge grounds and tests a priori reasoning in the real world. Together, they form a holistic framework for understanding the nature of reality and the limits of human knowledge. Now that we have discussed the connection between a priori and empirical knowledge, we can also move on and check the other connections which are there. We will now be talking about connection between idealism and introspective knowledge. So to begin with, we have to understand that both idealism and introspective knowledge stems from the core of the inner world. Idealism is reality is fundamental, mental, spiritual, or mind dependent. Introspective knowledge, on the other hand, is gained through self reflection and examination of one's thoughts, feelings, and consciousness. The connection, if we see, idealism emphasizes the mind as the foundation of reality, making introspection essential for understanding existence and ultimate truths. We will be continuing with our connection between idealism and introspective knowledge in our next lecture. Thank you.